So the next position we're going to cover is the deep lasso. This is one of my favorite positions to play from the bottom because it has a lot of really good aspects of control. The deep lasso allows you to control their posture without necessarily having to have a grip on the collar. And if they try to get in close, it can also act as a frame. And all of that helps you be able to keep them oriented in front of you so that you're able to stay very safe, especially with a bigger partner or somebody who's trying to put a lot of pressure. You're able to have those frames and keep them right where you want them so that you can start capitalizing and attacking from there. You can get there from a shallow lasso literally just by putting it a little bit deeper. And then from here, some of the key components is if he walks right and left, it's similar gyroscopic movements that we did in the shallow lasso too. When he walks side to side, I'm using my lasso and my foot in the bicep to lift my hips and adjust. So if he goes the other way too, I'm lifting my hips and then moving. I'm not just sliding when he walks, where I'm gonna be really slow and he kind of has control over my weight. When he walks, I'm making a point to lift my hips so that I can move fast and on my own terms. If he tries to back up from here, this is one of the main mistakes I see from here, I'm not following with my foot. If he backs up, I don't want my foot to follow him where it can get smashed down, exactly. So when he goes to back up, I'm almost retracting my foot a little bit. So now instead of hooking his delt, I'm hooking his tricep. So if he tries to smash my hook down, it doesn't move. Here. So I'm using all of this to stay really dynamic and stay in control of the fight from here. Something that I feel like isn't talked about enough from a deep lasso position when it's being taught is how to get into a deep lasso in the first place properly. It's really easy for beginners to think that you can put in a lasso like this and think it's just as strong and it's not going to get countered even in the moment you're putting it in. When I'm putting in a deep lasso, I'm making sure that I'm pulling his hand all the way to me and not allowing any space for him to circle his hand out in that moment. And now when I'm hooking on his back with my foot, I'm hooking with kind of I call it the fin of my foot here, and I'm curling my toes up and I'm holding him in place with this bone here. Pulling tight, and I'm catching right on that delt to lat connection there, making sure too that my palm is up and the back of my hand is flush to my thigh, so that way I'm not letting his hand circle and I'm not having to use as much strength because this is all very locked in place here. From here, I also want to pay attention of the angle of my hips. If I'm on my right hip, it's going to be much easier for him to circle his hand out, but it's going to be way harder for him to pop my hook off of his back. So this will be super stuck if he's trying really hard to get this out, but it'll be easier for him to circle his hand. And alternatively, if my hips are flat here, it's going to be easier for him to get my hook out here, but it's going to be much harder for him to circle his hand. So you want to think about that when you're playing this guard, paying attention to what your partner's trying to do to counter your position and adjusting your hips in order to deal with that here. So if I'm thinking he really wants to get his hand out, I might play a little bit more flat. If he really wants to get my hook out, I might play a little bit more on my side here. Yeah. The first attack we're going to look for from here is the omoplata on this near side lasso arm. Whenever I start to look for this attack, I move my foot from being in the crook of the elbow to on the shoulder, so that way I can really blade off and get a sharper angle so his elbow's a little bit more exposed on this side. So I'm going from the crook of the elbow and the sleeve to the shoulder and the collar super high. I'm breaking his posture down and making sure I'm connecting his forearm to my hamstring here. I'm pinching a little bit, but not letting my hook come off of his shoulder. Pulling here, And then from here, I have to let go of the lasso to attack this omoplata. So I want to be super, super intentional. When I let go of this grip, I'm reaching for the back of his tricep, making sure that the side of my forearm is attached to my thigh. If I reach like this and I try to pull, his hand's going to come out. And then I just lost my guard and my attack. So when I reach, I make sure that whole relationship here is super tight. I'm reaching. I teach it, I call it a lucky cat paw, like this. So I'm gonna catch on the tricep here, like a lucky cat, I guess. Making sure that my forearm is tight to my arm, so that way his arm has nowhere to really circle to protect himself. And then from here, I'm gonna clamp my calf on his back and get super, super high, and then collapse my knees, bring my legs over, and I can start to finish. One of the most common finishes from here too is if his left knee is up, I'm gonna take my outside foot, weave it in, and then I'm gonna square up and back out to finish a shoulder lock there. So I get my lasso, I'm staying safe, I'm making sure I'm following him. I want to start attacking, I'm going to move my foot to the shoulder to create that angle. Reach for the collar, pull him in tight. I'm going to let go of my sleeve and immediately close this gap here, keeping everything super connected. Shoot my leg through as I pull his arm in, connect my hips, and then close my knees. Start to sit up here. And then if he's still up on that far knee, figure four and then sneak this foot behind his leg, square up, and then start to back up to finish. Another important detail too, whenever you're trying to sit up with an omoplata, it can be hard if somebody's trying to posture up to be able to sit all the way up if you still have a figure four. If you cross at your ankles, you'll be able to use your hamstrings to extend and help yourself sit up a little bit better. So I got my lasso, I got my spider, I want to start attacking. I'm going to put my foot in the shoulder, pull, catch all of the spaces closed, clamp my calf on his back to lift my hips up, close my knees in tight on his shoulder, bring my leg over. I'm going to cross my feet to help me sit up here. And now, if he's still staying strong and that far knee is up, I'm just going to weave inside, catch, square to finish. One more time. Another great setup for this attack too is if the person is squatting from here. If the person is squatting, I'll switch my foot to the shoulder and the collar and pull really, really hard until they're like, shit, my back hurts. And then from here, because I'm so tight on their collar, they have to lift their butt before their head. So the moment they start lifting their butt, their posture is really, really poor, so they can't really defend that attack the way that they would need to in order for you to get a super good look on that omoplata. The next attack we're going to be looking at from the deep lasso is the roll through, where I'm going to roll underneath, and I'm going to threaten an attack that looks very similar to an omoplata, but instead of my hamstring being up against his tricep, it's actually my shin. So I call it an omoplata because it basically is an omoplata, but not quite. So what we're going to do to get there is I'm going to press him away, or if there's just enough space, I'm going to make sure I'm on my right hip. My foot's going to go to the mat. I'm going to lift my hips up and then roll underneath myself here until I can get to the outside of his legs. And I'm immediately reaching up around for his far hip, blocking this knee here. Then I'm going to start escaping my hips out here until I can drop his hip to the mat. Then I'm going to lift up to finish. It's really important when you do this move that the entire time that you're rolling, that like shark fin of your foot is attached to his delt. If it ever comes disconnected, it's going to be really easy for them to posture up and defend, and it leaves you in kind of a vulnerable spot. So you want to make sure that this connection is super, super strong and that your leg is always pulling throughout the entirety of the whole move. Post my foot on the mat, lift my hips, my foot's still connected, my foot's still connected, my foot's still connected. Here. I roll to the outside, my foot's still connected. I'm reaching for that hip, blocking his knee, escaping and dropping his hip here. And finishing. Again, super important that you're always pulling here. You want to have the person be off balance forward because you have this frame, and then the moment you lift your hips and you shoot underneath, this is still pulling them forward, and there's not really anything in that space other than them having to post their hands on the mat here. And they just fall right into that space. Then you're already in on a submission. One more time. This is also a great attack when the person tries to back up from here. If they back up, they're just giving you a bunch of space to post your foot on the mat. Here, I'm reaching. As soon as I reach around the hip, I can let go of that sleeve and frame, scoot, and finish. The next attack we're going to look at from this deep lasso position is what I call the Meregali Sweep, since Nicholas Meregali is so well known for this sweep, is when this deep lasso hook comes in between his legs and hooks that far butt cheek, posts his foot on the mat, and he's going to pull and basically overhead butterfly sweep here. This move is really great when somebody's, whether they're trying to back up or just not be super engaged. It gives you a really strong threat if they're just not trying to pass. Your foot's coming in to this far butt crease here, foot on the mat. I'm going to sit up, and as I sit back, I'm keeping this hook connected and throwing him over the top here. You really want to make sure too that when you put this hook in, you're attacking right away or getting into a different position, more of like an X-guard lasso, or trying to hit the sweep right away. You don't want to just hang out here where your leg might get smashed down. So as soon as I get here, I have the same side collar, my hook's coming in, sitting up, posting my foot, scooting in and finishing right away. One more time. The next attack we're going to be looking at from this deep lasso position is a super fundamental sweep that like most people learn at white belt, which is like an overhead sweep here. But instead of doing it from both feet on the hips, where you probably don't have a great follow-up if they defend, we're doing it from a deep lasso where we're a little bit safer. We have more attacks from here too. And then all I'm doing to get that same sweep, my foot on the bicep is coming to the hip, scooting myself in, and then I'm pulling with my lasso hook and not locking out my foot on the hip. Lifting, and then back rolling into mountain. It's really important whenever you try to overhead sweep from there that the foot on the hip isn't locked out. If this hip is locked out here, I can't get the leverage to pull him because I'm keeping him so far away with my leg locked out. My knee is going to be bent and I'm not really pushing here. I'm pulling with everything, and this leg is just kind of a placeholder until he gets over my belly button, and then that leg is going to start acting on that hip and pressing. I have my deep lasso. Whether my foot was already on the hip or past, hooking the ribs, or on the spider, it's going to come to the hip. I'm going to scoot myself in, pull, and then that leg starts to press as soon as he gets over the, like, my belly button range. Lasso, scoop myself in. I'm pulling. If the person's really backing up too, I can use that to scoop my hips under and then lift. If I can too, while I'm lifting, my sleeve hand, the non-lasso sleeve hand, I'm pressing down towards my hips as I'm elevating him, so we can't post that hand on the mat at all. Pulling tight, making sure I'm always putting in a strong lasso, pressing, getting close, lift, swiping that sleeve down as I sweep to mount here. So one common thing that'll happen if you play a deep lasso game is the person will drop to their knees because they're so afraid of being off balanced. So they'll try to play safe and heavy from here, but they're really opening themselves up for scissor sweeps from here. When you go to attack the scissor sweep, I like to press my foot on the hip and scoot myself a little bit further away so I have a little bit stronger of an attack. From here, I'm gonna stay square until I'm ready to attack. My foot is coming to the bottom all the way to the mat, like the side of my foot is all the way on the mat here, and I'm like cupping the front of his knee. As I'm pulling with my lasso, I'm loading his weight forward here. Then I'm gonna pull on the sleeve and finish the scissor sweep all the way up to mount. When I go for this move too, I want to make sure that the hand I have this sleeve, I'm pulling really hard and I'm coming up to my elbow behind me. I'm trying to get my elbow on the mat in the same place that my spine would be right now. So I'm not just coming up here and trying to scissor sweep where I don't have a lot of power. I'm pulling so hard that I'm coming up kind of behind myself to where I can look directly behind me. So that way I have the widest arc to sweep him in. So I press out if I need a little bit more room. As soon as my foot's going, all of the rest of the steps are happening at the same time. I'm pulling with my lasso, pulling with this sleeve. I'm gonna twist and kick with the lasso as I come up onto my elbow and look behind myself. Here. Super, super important that when you drill this move, you're trying to hit all of those key points kind of at the same time. It's gotta be a really compound movement there. Pressing out if I need more space. My foot drops to block his knee as I'm pulling this sleeve, coming up and looking behind myself. Here, to finish that scissor sweep. This deep lasso can also be a good tool to be offensive when they end up stepping over your bottom leg and kind of trapping you in a half guard. You can still use it as a frame if they're trying to pressure into you, and you can use it to back out if you need to. But from here, we have a great tilt sweep attack. So if I want to attack from here, I want to make sure I'm on my side, and then I'm going to do like a side crunch all the way in, making sure if he tries to cross face me from here, I'm always blocking at his bicep. This is a great drill to do from here. It's just not letting him grab here. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to tuck in and get a grip on the side of his pants, pull him with the lasso as I switch my hips. So right now I'm on my right hip. I'm going to switch all the way to my left hip to sweep. Super important when you do this move that you're not stopping in the middle when you go to switch for the sweep. You go all the way from your right hip to your left hip in one motion while you're pulling on that pant grip and bicep curling it to your head, and then you're gonna shoulder press it to finish the sweep. Scooting in, getting this pant grip, loading him with my lasso, then I'm gonna switch my hip, pull that pant grip out from under him. So here again, don't let him cross face you here. Don't let him smash your leg down. Stay really strong with your frames. Come in, you're gonna load, bicep curl, and switch your hip at the same time. Here. This is also a great opportunity, if once you get on top, to fit into the half guard here. One more time. So we have our deep lasso as our frame, blocking this crossface. I'm gonna come in, pull, switch. Here. The next attack we're gonna look at from this deep lasso and spider position is attacking this far leg and using it as a de la Riva. So in order to get to that leg, if it's far away, I'm gonna use this foot on the bicep to extend to make him have to step that leg close for base. Now I'm gonna hook with a de la Riva and grab a grip on his ankle and adjust my butt. I want my butt like directly on top of his foot here, so that way when I shoot my de la Riva deep, I'm not getting caught up because my angle is off and I'm too far in front. Now from here, my lasso, this is one of the few times I take my lasso off of the shoulder. It's gonna go to the hip to help me lift my hips up. Here. I'm all the way up in a side plank here. I want my core completely rigid, my legs are completely straight, and the only thing on the mat is my shoulder right now. Keeping that grip on the ankle, and now everything is gonna open up and press towards his hands here. I'm gonna get him to drop on the mat, and then I'm gonna come up. Pick up the sleeve, knee cut over both legs here. So I have my deep lasso. I use my spider to make him step, hook, grab, adjust, foot on the hip, lift all the way up, drop him down. It's really important here when I want to come up, my hand that was on the ankle is going to frame on his armpit and his ribs, so that way I can make sure he's staying down as I post my hand and make the transition to make sure I can stay up on top here. Make him step, hook, grab, adjust, foot on the hip, lift your hips stupid high. You want it to almost be silly how exaggerated this motion is because it's gonna make it even stronger when you do drop down. Here, frame, post, pick up the sleeve, and knee cut from here. One more time. Here, drop them down. Okay. Another great attack from this lasso and far de la Riva style position is a leg drag sweep. We're gonna do the exact same thing to begin with, is getting this deep de la Riva, and then we're gonna try to get him to step that far leg close enough to where we can grab it, whether it's an underhook or a pant grip. I just want to be really connected to it. Sit up and insert this knee. Then I'm going to chop and pull and sit him on top of my shin right there. Pummel my leg in. Then I'm coming up for this leg drag. Let's go here. Everything in the beginning is the same. I'm getting to that de la Riva, getting my ankle grip, shooting this leg through, making him step. I'm gonna underhook, reach for this pant, sit up onto my elbow here so I can pull myself even more behind him. My shin is directly behind his knee. This shin is containing and keeping his shin in place as I pull really hard on the back of his pants and sit him down. Pummel my leg inside here, bring this hand out, come up and secure a really strong leg drag here. Here. Here, I'm sitting all the way up to my elbow so I can get really behind. Pommel. And come up. Thank you for watching this course all the way through. I hope you found these sleeve-based positions and attacks super useful. You can follow me on Instagram at Rachel Ranshaw. If you have any questions about the moves or positions in this course, feel free to message me, and keep an eye out on more courses coming in the future.